Hello, my name is Eduardo today, and I'm here to read the Daily Reflections book for August 5th, 2026. It's called Listening Deeply. How persistently we claim the right to decide all by ourselves just what we shall think and just how we shall act. That can be found in the 12 by 12 book, 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 37. That looks like this one. Maybe not as beat up though. If I accept and act upon the advice of those who have made the program work for themselves, I have a chance to outgrow the limits of the past. Some problems will shrink to nothingness, while others may require patient, well thought out action. Listening deeply when others share can develop intuition in handling problems which arise unexpectedly. It is usually best for me to avoid impetuous action. Attending a meeting or calling a fellow AA member will usually reduce tension enough to bring relief to a desperate sufferer like me. Sharing problems at meetings with other alcoholics to whom I relate, or privately with my sponsor, can change aspects of the positions in which I find myself. Character defects are identified, and I begin to see how they work against me. When I put my faith in the spiritual power of the program, when I trust others to teach me what I need to do to have a better life, I find that I can trust myself to do what is necessary. Period. The end of the reading. Let's see. I was having a really tough time understanding this, and I've only been through it a couple times today, except for the 19 years I've been reading this, not just this over and over, but reading all these books, like this and the 12 by 12 and the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the little red book and the 24 hours a day book, not to mention just living life sober, which I don't know if I have any better beat on things than somebody living life drunk like I used to. Anyhow, listening deeply, that's an important quality. I know I still have this tendency. I know I have this tendency because I find myself almost consciously, physically needing to bite my tongue occasionally. So say I'm here, sharing here, listening deeply when others share can develop intuition in handling problems which arise unexpectedly. If you're, well, here, what if I'm listening deeply? If I'm listening deeply, that means I'm doing like one thing. I'm just listening. Whether it's deep or not, I'm listening. I'm not thinking about how I would have done things differently. I'm not thinking about there's probably a better way or something like that. I'm listening to another human being express something that they feel is important. Where I start to feel myself like physically needing to bite my tongue, or actually physically biting my tongue to stop myself from interjecting when somebody else is talking, especially if somebody else is sharing something pretty deep. I used to like have very little filter or very little control, might be a better way of putting it, before I would have to throw in some remark that I think is funny and turn it into a joke or something and interrupt people with a joke. Um, which, I mean, it has its place. I'm just tired of being the one doing it. It's kind of rude, but what in the context of where we at here today, daily reflections, August 5th. That's the 8th month. This is probably dealing with an 8th step kind of thing. So let's go read the 8th step. See if we can get any kind of clue from here. The 8th step of the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, found on page 377 of this particular copy of the Daily Reflections book. Step 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. And today, during the first week of the 8th month, this might be an introduction in how you might come about doing the 8th step. Our 5th day of education on how to do the 8th step, August 5th. Listening deeply. Maybe we need to listen deeply to other people. Maybe we have never done that. I know that was true for me. I would occasionally listen deeply. But this is just yet another way to realize that our ego, well, is powerful, and a lot of times, at least for myself, I would find myself only listening to my ego. What does Eduardo need, if that's what I called myself today? And I would vaguely kind of tune in and out when people are talking, thinking, how is this affecting me? How can I use that? I mean, I still do that to some degree. I think that's why people communicate. Hopefully I'm doing these in the chance that you can understand what I'm trying to say, and it might help you. I'm not just here wasting time, I hope. I classify myself as something of an optimist, so I don't think there's really a 100% waste of time. If we take any kind of interest, like in ourselves, I'll just put it this way. Evel Knievel from the 1970s, daredevil motorcycle jumper guy, outstanding fellow, something of a drunk, but he didn't do a lot of painkiller. It doesn't matter. He's a hero of mine, Evel Knievel. He would say a lot of nice stuff before he would jump, maybe because he was going to die very soon. So, maybe. And plus he would drink before he jumped. Take that shot of courage, or so I've heard. I've never met the guy. Here, wait. What am I talking about? He used to say, in every adversity, there's the equivalency to benefit if you just look for it. So I don't think there's ever a 100% complete waste of time. If we look back at it, what we've said or what we've learned or what we did, who we've harmed, maybe we can find the equivalency to benefit, as Evel would say, Evel Knievel, spelt E-V-E-L, not E-V-I-L. Anyhow, how does that put us here? Listening deeply. What can we learn? Well, if we can just learn how to listen to people instead of our ego or our inner voice or the monkey on your back or your addiction telling you how much, like right now, maybe you're listening to me and you don't want to, and you want to go use drugs, alcohol, or just get out of the room. Maybe there could be any number of reasons why. I'm sure I offer enough things to choose from why you don't want to sit here and listen to me. And that doesn't bother me. Don't listen to me then. It's a free world in my mind. But maybe you can learn from that. Like here, there's a tradition I really like. I think it's the 12th tradition. That's found on probably page 376 in the back of this book. Because on page 375, the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I know you probably can't read that, and I didn't hold it up long enough, just indicating I actually have some reference material ahead of me here. Page 376, yes, the 12 traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous. Way at the bottom here, the 12th tradition says, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities. So that just popped in there when I was saying, if we're looking for some kind of equivalency to benefit, maybe there's something beneficial here. Maybe I could learn something, even in the situation I don't want to be in. Regardless of blame or fault, whoever caused the situation, and now you find yourself, or I find myself in this situation, I don't like it, and I start to listen to my ego and my addiction and stuff. Ever reminding ourselves to place personalities, excuse me, that's exactly wrong. Ever reminding myself to place principles before personalities. So a long time ago, I don't know if this is correct or not, but it's helpful to me. Rather than focusing on somebody's packaging, what they look like, how they sound, how they're dressed, how they act, what they smell like, who they're hanging out with, all kinds of just the packaging. I couldn't get beyond that to hear what they were saying, to listen deeply, because I would be judging and criticizing just their appearance mainly. And so a lot of times, I'm certain of this, that I missed some very important information because I was wrapped up in my own judgment and criticism of this other person, looking at their packaging, looking at the personality before the principles. Even if somebody looks to me in a way that I don't approve of, say, they may have some very good things to say. So I slowly came around to that realization, maybe this person has something worthwhile to listen to. Even if they're a drunk on the street, say, or wherever you happen to find a drunk. Just because somebody looks a certain way doesn't mean they don't have a worthwhile opinion or something that might help you. Even if, now, that's exactly the way I don't want to be. That's exactly the way I don't want to think. That's exactly the way I'm not going to speak to people. Even if you can get that from somebody, like Evel Knievel was saying, in every adversity, there is the equivalency to benefit, if you just look for it. So, listening deeply. Maybe I don't want to hear this guy. Maybe you don't want to hear me. Maybe, let's just stick with this. I've been to some pretty boring seminars in my life for different things that are not related to alcoholism. And I find myself drifting off, daydreaming, and somehow looking like I'm still awake, maybe, and paying attention. At least my eyes remain open. And I just switch off what I'm hearing, and I'm looking and judging everybody and things in the room. or whatever, and I'm not listening deeply. So then, you know, it would look like, and it's largely true, I've just wasted my time and money to attend some seminar. So maybe that money I could have spent somewhere else more effectively in my life or in your life. Maybe I could have just given the money to somebody else, a charity, rather than paying for a seminar I didn't pay attention to because I didn't like the guy's tie or something like that. So I'm going to need to kind of wrap this up. I don't know if I made a point. Listening deeply, this thing about trust. When I put my faith in the spiritual power of the program, when I trust others to teach me what I need to do to have a better life, I find that I can trust myself to do what is necessary. At some point in my sobriety, and I don't think it was early on, I know it wasn't early on. You know, when I was drinking, I couldn't be trusted around wine or